I think we need to ask ourselves a question. Is the goddess of mothership in Age of Mythology Retold any good? Because if you look at some of the win rates for the top level players, she's sitting at 52%, which is currently 6th on AOM stats if we're looking at 1600 and above. Then if you look at the overall stats, she's only 48%. And then the lower you go down the ELOs, below 1400, she's 4th from the bottom. Below 1200 and below 1000, she's at a 44% win rate and 2nd to bottom, just behind Aranos, which is probably the hardest god to play in the game. I think maybe because Isis is actually quite hard to play. So what we're going to do is watch Recon, which is one of the best Isis players there is, and he's going to play 2 games, and we're going to watch from his point of view to see how he does. Okay, so here we are. We're moving into the first game. So this is Recon versus Bones. Bones is also known as Kiddo. He has a lot of accounts. I think he is one of the best players currently. So now we're going to watch Recon, who is also one of the best players, and see how he plays this matchup here, which is against Hades, which is one of the current strongest picks, because Greek did get buffed pretty well. So we'll see how that one goes. So we have straight away, he actually goes for the Monument to the Villagers with all 3 villagers straight away, which is something interesting. I don't do this. I normally build the granary first and then put that up with 1 villager, but it makes sense to do it with all 3. He's also put it in a position that he could potentially defend some sort of pestilence that might want to come through, or restoration, which are 2 things that Hades wants to do. So this circle radius here is actually something that can block enemy god powers, and I think it's one of Isis's best things that she has, and maybe people don't utilize it as much as they should do because the circle isn't as big as it used to be from the old game. Now what he does here is goes 2 on the gold before getting wood. Now my standard build is to get wood first, get the 8 wood, then move over to the mining camp. But the reason Recon's done this, and it's something that is a bit awkward about my builds, is the obelisks come out a little bit late if you want to do that. The reason you want the 8 wood is because you want to drop it off once and then you get enough pickaxe, which is over this side here. And it can be very, very strong. Isis is the only one that can do this out the Egyptians, because you only need to do once, 1 drop back of the wood. Whereas if you're Ra or Set, you need to do that twice, and it just becomes a little bit more awkward. But he does that in favor of getting an earlier obelisk up, which I do like. I think maybe I'm going to steal this as well. And what you also want to do is pre-queue Flood of the Nile. So how many villagers does he move over here? So we have the 5 villagers coming over here. Does he get a 6th one? No. So he stops at 5, but he also did have 2 earlier gold miners than I usually have for my build. So this is the guy that you want to follow. We'll see what sort of advance time this nets him, and whether or not he goes for more monuments or not. But he's also, this is a slap in the face monument. This is so aggressive because you can be aggressive early on. The catastrophes can't really chase you away. It can deal damage to you, but you can also just put the obelisks up and ignore it. Although Ajax plus Catastropus is a bit more scary, and it looks like Recon still doesn't care, and he's going to put the obelisk up in his opponent's face. We do see that Blanket of Empress Zoe is coming through, which is vulnerability to crush attacks from siege weapons. So that is annoying for if Recon wants to go for any kind of siege push, which Isis is kind of known for. And this is what I meant about the Ajax and the Catastropus. But we will see that guy might be getting taken out. So Temple coming up around the 3-minute mark. So he's going to go for a later advance time. If you're going for 1 town center ideas, that is kind of what you want to do with Isis. You don't want to rush up because there's just no need. Pharaoh coming over nicely to bring that guy back up to full HP. And that'll be the end of the aggression, I feel. Just because the archaic damage is just so weak. He's also cancelled a villager, which is interesting. So he wants to get up for 430 and cancelled a villager for it. I don't know if he knew that he cancelled a villager, because he could have definitely got that one out, but maybe that's just the UI messing up. It wouldn't surprise me. He's only 1 villager behind the Greek player, so I think that was just the UI messing with me. And we're going for 11 villagers onto the gold. 2nd monument to the soldiers coming up. Again, really nice circle for this pestilence. He can still drop it here, but that's just Isis monument things. But really nice placement. Also getting some houses around the backside, because Recon's a player who looks for the late game, and Bones, he could drop an earthquake, and that means that the houses here probably won't get destroyed because they're on the outside of that earthquake. Obviously, he would have to then come in, take the monument to the soldiers down first, but that is just something that you want to be looking for anyway. You can also delete these monuments yourself to move them forward. And this map was Tundra, which we didn't mention, which means you get 2 proper food sources, and this is a very strong map for ISIS. Just imagine that you're playing Ra and you get the bonus of those berries, but instead you're just getting the double granary. So decide to go through Bast, get some barracks up. Barracks units have been buffed, so Spearman raids, pretty strong. I think something that's misunderstood about Egyptian in general is their Classical Age. Classical Age units are very strong. Even though in the old game, the barracks units were pretty weak, they were just counters. But in Retold, the slingers are good, the spearmen are good all around units, and then the axemen are huge counters to infantry. You don't just want to build them if you don't see any infantry because they're not very good. But if you don't know what you're coming into, spearmen is definitely the choice. So we see the spearmen here, 5 speed, 85 health, and 7 attack. And this guy is going to come and be very annoying, especially against the 2 town center play. It's also got a handful of priests out to try and deny this. We did see that it wasn't actually built that far up, so maybe Recon's going to try and get to deny this town center. Looks like that is exactly what you're trying to do. A couple of ghost buildings coming in, but the Sphinx could honestly take that out really, really quickly. Achilles is kind of a burden for the Sphinx, and in comes Recon, and he's just putting on the pressure. The priests don't deal much damage, but if they get ignored, they will be able to take out some villages. And it looks like restoration forced out. Don't think anything should go down here, but forced out the restoration, and also, yeah, should probably run away there. It doesn't look like Bones lost any villagers, but just this amount of pressure, forcing the restoration, forcing his opponent to have so much idle time to actually come around and shank and everything. And I would call this, if your opponent's going for a town center, this is the best way for it to happen. Apart from just straight out denying it, this is something that I've done for ages. Getting out early priests, I just absolutely love it. And this is something that I don't do. I'm going to steal. Second town center. You've put on all that pressure, and the opponent has got his town center up only slightly quicker than you, and you've already dealt with you've caused a lot of idle time. You've forced out some of those expensive heroes that maybe he didn't want to make the Achilles. You probably do, but still forced out a lot, and then still gets a second town center on the back, which I absolutely love. And where is he going with is he going for a third town center? Okay, here we go. It looks like the scout is looking for it. Maybe this is something that everybody knows that this happens. The reason he can do this, though, okay, this is crazy. The reason he can do this is because he has these priests. He has these spearmen. We've seen that Bones here, he's dropped this town center. He's dropped a couple of military buildings, but he just won't have the resources that Recon has, because Recon went for the early prosperity to get all that gold income in, and he's put on the pressure to stop Bones from actually doing anything, forcing out walls because he had to build the walls because the spearmen might come and raid him again, forcing out some extra buildings in places where maybe you wouldn't want to, like building you probably want to mark it, but still. Third town center up, 8 minutes in. Look at the resources too. It's got so many resources. Just ignored wood. You don't need wood unless you're building slingers or you want to get some upgrades that involve wood. If you're going for some kind of classical play and you don't want slingers, the only thing I probably would like to do, and I realize that he's on the right hand side, is I would like to see this husbandry tech. I think it's really good if you're on the berry bushes. I can see why he didn't. So basically, on normal maps, you get berry bushes and chickens, and both of them get a bonus from husbandry, which is why you get it. And I assume he didn't get it on this map because he didn't want to obviously spend the extra villager time getting wood, and also doesn't have the chickens. He had the extra huntables. So that's the reason I assume he skipped husbandry. What you can do is just leave one villager on the wood and then be able to get your husbandry tech whenever you want. But that's just a personal preference thing, I guess. And then we do see that map pressure is all Recon's. He's got eyes absolutely everywhere. Hasn't built many more units either. The same amount of priests. He's still got those 5 priests that were queued up earlier. He had 5 spearmen earlier. He's literally just built one more, and that is it. And now going through Nephthys. And now what does Nephthys bring? Brings an Ancestor's Eclipse, which is very, very strong on your opponent's economy, if that's what you want to go. It can also sway a fight, if that's what you want to go. Very strong against the classical Greek army. When a third hero comes in, they can deal with it pretty easily. Odysseus and Chiron and all the other boys. And looks like the Minotaur is going to slightly step out. But now the Hades is confined to his base. And also, it wasn't just 3 town centers. It was the 2 forward town centers. So this is all map pressure. Walls coming up to secure this gold mine back here. This gold mine and this gold mine are things that maybe Bones could actually go for, which is why the obelisk is up. And I'm sure there's going to be a priest or spearman heading down to this one. And this is exactly what you want to do. This idea is pretty crazy because I tried stuff similar to this, but just with 1 town center and just putting on more pressure. But you just don't need the full pressure. And here is the Ancestor's Eclipse. There's not much on this town center. There's just this wood, so it's pushing off about 10 villagers. Also, there's spearmen in to scare away the Ajax. See, just little plays like that. If you would have sent in the Sphinx, which is what most players do, or the Scorpion Man, then the Ajax will just have a field day. I mean, look how much he probably 4 hits those. Look at the first shot, maybe even three shots them. Even though he's not getting many kills, forcing all this idle time. Also, splitting up your minions is always the way to go. Also, Bones here not respecting the 2 minions. Looks like that one will go down. You just got to respect the minions. They do so much damage with Eclipse. If it's Ancestors on its own, I can kind of see you disrespecting it slightly, but medium spearman coming in. We see the Q. Funeral Rites. Funeral Rites is very good, is a very good upgrade if you're going for the classical units. So these guys cost 20 gold, and then when they die, you get 8 gold back. So you're basically getting almost half their gold cost back in return just to build another one. So very, very good. Unfortunately, the Eclipse is over and the Scorpion Man needs to run away. You can face tank Achilles with these spearmen. Actually, you can't anymore because the Achilles is too heavy and he can just push through the units. Now, forward move to a stronghold. We just go back to look at the economy. Gold, gold, huntables, gold, spreading out onto every gold mine. 29 villages on gold, which is something that Isis really wants. What you can also do, and I don't know if he's saving up for it or not, he's only got 2 monuments, but he's close to it anyway, is getting a second prosperity off. If you're going for some kind of forcing play where you're doing this, where you're taking map pressure, where you're putting on the pressure, a second prosperity works wonders. I find it very strong on 1 town center. 3 town centers, maybe not. It looks like instead he is going for Nebti, which is the upgrade to give your pharaohs and priests more damage. So maybe he's expecting some Nemean lions, expecting some Minotaurs, and you can't really go wrong with that. And now, 12 minutes in, he's dealt all this damage with 3 town centers, and he is going for the build which we know and love from the old game, which is the 1 town center siege tower elephant push, which he's doing off of a ridiculous boom. There is no other god in the game that can actually do this. If anyone knows of someone that can do a similar kind of thing, yeah, let me know. But this is ridiculous. I've still got another game to watch as well. Here he is. Siege towers coming down. Markets going down. We do have those. Yeah, I was going to say there's a bit more tanky. They have the upgrades from earlier, the ones with the extra crush damage. Now we've got heavy spearmen out. Do we have any upgrades? So we have all of the armory upgrades. This is quite standard. I think if you're not getting these copper weapons, copper shields, copper armor, I would start doing it. They are very, very cheap. That was one of the buffs they had a few patches ago. And I probably don't see enough people getting them at the lower levels, to be honest. I think they're very, very strong. The next tier up is more of an investment. And we do see huge curse. Curse is massive on spearmen because they're so cheap. So really nice defensive job there from Bones. And this is exactly why the priests are here. Nemean Lion goes down instantly. The town center is going down very, very quickly. Siege tower dealing decent damage. Villagers trying to get in. But the elephants, instead of targeting the town center, nicely getting the villagers. And the priests on the back actually dealing damage. Could even heal up the siege tower if he really wants to. But a micro onto that siege tower, you can get all of your priests to heal that bad boy back up. But town center's down. It's done its job. And now it's just full pressure, full weight. Oh, look at the score difference. 100 villagers to 57, and then double the military count too. We've got camels. Camels coming in. Camels can be very, very strong. Also getting his economic upgrades at the same time. I just want to pause it because I don't want to miss anything. What economic upgrades does he have? So he's got plow. Unfortunately, wait, I think I can slow it down. Yeah, there we go. So he's got sacred cats, this wet one. So that's for the wood. Those are both the Bast upgrades. Shaft mine, survival equipment, hand axe, and he's getting his farm upgrades. So basically missing hardly anything. I think he's missing the bow saw, but he has 8 on wood. You don't need bow saw with 8 on wood. It's just a waste of resources. I would say if you're something below like 12 to 15, you probably don't need the next one. Unless you're floating loads of resources, then absolutely just do it just to spend them. But Recon wants food, he wants gold, and he's getting all of those upgrades. And that is a Recon victory there. That was absolutely ridiculous. I wasn't expecting that. I just saw that he posted that these games were good. So I was like, okay, let's see why. So resources collected. Boom, because 3 town centers. Civilian units started off with less because he put that pressure on, and then overtook at, what is that, 8:30, and then just obviously just sailed. And military units always had more. Always had more. Okay, that's ridiculous. Let's try this next one. Okay, now we're moving into the second game. I wanted to skip the early game because it's basically the same. Copy the build from the first one if you want to look at that. The next one is Recon again on ISIS, obviously, and we're watching him against Husk Soup, another top player, always within the kind of top 10 of the ladder. Same build as before. He had the 11 on the mining camp with the prosperity, then dropping a barracks down, and then sending these priests and sphinx forward to just get some aggression on. It's something that ISIS players just don't do if they're sitting back and booming kind of play style, and this is exactly what you want to do. Even gets a villager kill, looking like a second villager kill. And while this is happening, Sacred Cat's getting more eco. In comes Achilles, and again we're watching the same matchup. Hades is a matchup that I for some reason struggle with as ISIS, and I think other people will as well. And this is because we're not playing it like Recon. Priest can turn around and micro that guy, but then these guys will get a bit out of position. Looks like the Minotaur did manage to pick off one of the villagers going for the town center, but will take its life there. So two villager kills for Recon and 1 for Soup. So we're still in the lead for our ISIS player here. Here we go. Here is the turnaround heal micro, and it looks like the settlement is going up. I don't know if Soup actually knows that is going up, and it looks like he doesn't. He doesn't know, so Recon is trying to stay out of the way to actually keep him away from this, so he doesn't guess that the town center is going up. You wouldn't guess that it is, because Mr. True's threat here, he's away. He would normally be on this settlement to get it up faster, but Recon's playing a bit of the sneaky, also forcing out the restoration in quite a different way, just deciding to sack these units to actually get this town center up. Now, we shouldn't know if the opponent is getting a town center unless you put some obelisks up. Excuse me, and he absolutely has. So amazing play by Recon here. So we know that Soup is going for a 1 town center play, and Recon is getting a 2nd town center while trading pretty evenly during these fights, taking down a restoration, not using his eclipse, and he probably lost more units there than Soup did realistically, but Soup had to use the restoration, which is absolutely key, and that is 2nd town center up. ISIS loves a 2nd town center, also going over to this top hunt position here, and still putting on pressure, acting like he's going 1 town center here. This is what you'd expect from a 1 town center player, is this amount of spearman aggression. Unfortunately, is going to lose some of these units. Does need to just bring them back. Probably lost more than he was hoping for there. And it looks like Soup is going for more Minotaurs, which mean more priest action for Recon, the ISIS player here. Deciding to do the same kind of build, so gets the early pickaxe, but doesn't have any on wood to get the husbandry, which is interesting. Just deciding against it, even on a map that has the chickens as well, that have already been eaten. Now, I don't know if Soup knows about this town center still. I mean, we are trying to watch from the perspective of Recon, and it looks like, there we go, he spots it there. So he spotted it 7 minutes 30 in. So he could go for his own town center, but Recon will see that. But what I imagine Soup will be doing is some kind of aggression later on, some kind of timing, or just putting on full pressure if that's what he wants to go for. But the spearmen are out. The spearmen from one barracks, you only need one barracks. How long do these take to train? Obviously, we're not going to be able to see, are we? They take... But does it not tell me anywhere? I don't know. I don't know. But not very long. Let's just say that. Not very long. So in this one, Recon, I assume what he wants to do is go one town center more than his opponent. So that's why he didn't go for the 2 town centers this time. Also, there was a lot more aggression. In the first game, there was no aggro on him, so he could just get that 3rd town center up. Whereas this time, he absolutely can't. Nice play by Soup here to push Recon off of the forward hunt, but he did that so that he had berries to move back onto. If he had moved onto these berries straight away, not only are they slower, but also when they're finished, he would then have to move forward to a player that's doing 1 town center aggro. So you don't really want to do that. Spearman getting a nice raid off here. We'll be able to pick off one villager, and we can just see the villager advantage here for Recon going very, very well. It's also these walls, these gates, super clutch. Rather than walling up here, which is what most players would have done to stop the aggro, you can go this side and you can go this side. It costs so much more. You can just put one behind you and just walk this way and be absolutely fine. Here we go. Spearman still getting some raids off. Still building Spearman as well. I thought maybe he would stop at a few just to raid and then try and get to the next stage, but he's deciding to get more Spearmen out, probably to defend the hippiest pushes that are coming his way. Could be a huge Spearman raid here. Soup reacts very, very quickly, and the Zom comes down, so it looks like he might only lose 1 villager, doesn't lose any. Yeah, that's the reaction time I would like to have to villager raids. No noises, he just saw it coming. Does still lose 1. And looks like Recon won't lose any spearmen. So the raid was reacted to very nicely, but still the damage was done with pulling off that many villagers. Especially because he has less villagers too. So it looks like Soup is going for Heroic Age, probably doing some kind of timing, getting Aphrodite again, which are very strong against the spearmen. Obelisk going down. Spearmen say no. We didn't see relics. I mean, this is more just about ISIS in general. But human soldiers do more damage to buildings is pretty nice, especially if you're going for some kind of push like the first game. Alfheim is a weird map where it actually often has quite a lot of berries on it and a decent amount of hunt, more than you'd expect if you're used to playing the old game. So we now have a fortress coming up. The spearmen can come in if they want to. Maybe they can just go in and have a look and see how many units there are from Soup, but you would assume that we saw earlier there was quite a few. Nephthys coming in. Nephthys Ancestors Eclipse could be coming in again with a decent amount of spearmen. We've got 19 spearmen, just going pure spearmen here. Also still getting the 2 monuments. 2nd barracks, 3rd barracks, 4th barracks coming up. So pure infantry army going up against the Greeks. Deciding to still... Oh, sorry, I should have swapped this guy around a lot earlier. Why can I not swap them? Okay, that doesn't work. Unfortunately, I can't swap him to the left, and now it's ruined my scoreboard. ISIS is on the right, and we just have to ignore these bars. So yeah, just deciding to go pure infantry, which is interesting. Or maybe, and also, yes, so he didn't put any or that many on wood, so not deciding to get any slingers out, not deciding to go any chariot archers. We'll probably get the Nebti and funeral rites upgrades from Nephthys straight away. Looks like town center is going down. Recon could just sack this if he wants to. Build a wall back here, and then do something similar and just run around. This gold mine is absolutely fine for him. It's also spreading around on the gold mines again, very similar to what he did in the last one, not just sitting in one spot. And yes, so getting heavy spearmen, very similar to the first game. Just adapted it to this specific game, rather than going for the 3 town centers, going for a second one, and also just saying, look, I'm ahead on the villagers. I know that I've had a town center for 6-7 minutes by now, and we know that Soup hasn't had one, because we've had eyes, well, not that one, but we've had eyes on the town centers for the entirety of this game. Also, not got any armory upgrades yet, but they are coming in. He won't want to fight until he gets those. Also getting his vast eco upgrades too. Scorpion Men coming in. Scorpion Men are... I really like Scorpion Men. They were nerfed very early on. And I think it was just the cost. But the amount of Spearmen here is pretty crazy. Ancestors Eclipse coming in. Curse is obviously huge. But the Ancestors Eclipse should be able to push those catapults back, which is why you put them right on the back line here. So many priests out to deal with any myth units. It's the same Nemean Lion. Chiron's going to be putting in a shift trying to take that Scorpion Man down that's unfortunately sitting down with his pants down, but Chiron does go down, and this is the Isis power that other civs just don't have. If you were sat back on 2 town centers versus 1, you could not push back like this, and this is something that Recon can do because of his Ancestors Eclipse, extra Scorpion Men, and just the huge value of these heavy spearmen. They're so strong. And that is it. There's 2 different ways to play Isis versus Hades, but on similar kind of thoughts. Early aggro, you get your prosperity down to get your priests out to then also afford a 2nd town center or 3rd town center if you really want to. And then kind of transition into having the aggression and getting the eco in, which is just something that you think you can't do, but Recon shows it is. And then look at that. That is the Ancestors Eclipse push. I might try some games with this Recon style because this is ridiculous. If you want to try it, then I would suggest trying it. If you want to see me try it, then let me know. And yeah, well, I'll see you in the next one.